Hello and welcome to Talkin Baseball. Free agent season is upon us. We got to get educated on who's available. That's what we're doing today. Let's do it. Hello and welcome to Talkin Baseball. My name is Jimmy. Jake is here. Trevor's here. Producer BBD behind the dish. And the off season is also officially here. Every free agent, every player who's contract up is officially a free agent. It's about to start. So we got to get ourselves educated on who's available. What positions have the most to offer? Which ones are pretty shallow? That's what we're doing today. Jake, you excited to find out?
Trev, James, Beebs, sure am. Sure am. You know I'm getting ready for my front office gig one day. And it's good to see, what the free agent pool looks like to start, where it ends up. And, there's massive names on here. Judge, DeGrom are going to break records. It starts to get a little thin, but, some of the Mitch Hanigers get my creative thoughts flowing. So I'm doing well.
Nice. Trev, this episode is brought to you by SeatGeek. As always, title sponsor. Code TALKIN.
Yeah, we're back.
Back to code TALKIN, TALKIN, for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. $20 off your first purchase with promo code TALKIN. Click the link in the description or download the app. Use the code, get some tickets. Trev, how you doing?
Guys, I'm doing great. I do want to treat this episode as sort of a lesson on free agency and who is out there. I think we're going to save some of the predictions and more of like where they're going to go for a episode down the road. But look, we got some rain. It's beautiful. I'm looking right outside right now. The sun is just peeking out of the clouds. I was talking to Jake about mineral pools and bodies of water with rocks that heal you. So I've had a good morning. I'm ready for this. Let's do it.
All right, we're going to start in the infield. Catchers are part of the infield. You never really think about them. Sometimes you think it's like a side gig of the infielders. But that's what's top of the list here. So let's go over the catchers. I'll run down the names quickly, and then you guys can give your thoughts. This seems like a top-heavy category to me. We got Wilson Contreras, Christian Vasquez, Gary Sanchez, Austin Hedges, Martin Maldonado, who's got surgery now and a bunch of stuff, played through a ton of pain, Omar Narvaez, Mike Zunino, and Tucker Barnhart. Bunch of catchers. My early thought, Jake, is that Contreras is the only one that you'd pay to be your everyday starting catcher of this bunch.
Yeah, I mean, everyday starting catcher gets tricky because there's only so much of that in today's baseball. I mean, he's a guy that you want in your lineup every day, whether it's catching or DHing. I mean, I look at Christian Vasquez and I think starting catcher. But, he's the kind of starting catcher that's going to play 100 games and you have another catcher that plays 60, which is most of the league. But yeah, I think it's kind of funny because, we see a lot of teams with the same kind of mindset and how they view positions. Like it feels like there's going to be 3 teams that are on Wilson Contreras and Gary Sanchez. It feels like there's going to be a team that brings in Christian Vasquez to be his guy. And then look at all these defensive dudes. Look at Hedges, Zunino, and Barnhart. Like I think we're going to have teams clearly focused on those guys, and whoever wins the bidding, they're going to go to the next one, and then you're going to see the value grabs defensively. And then, Gary Sanchez at this point, is he your third catcher? I don't think you're banking on him being a starting catcher. So, but he's a guy that can get a fan base excited really easily. We know that, Trev.
You're totally right about the catcher's position. There's just so many ways that teams look at the catching position. I don't think many are looking for an offensive-minded catcher in today's game. The teams that have those guys kind of want to keep them because it becomes sort of a massive advantage if you have a guy that can hit there. I mean, it extends your lineup, exponentially. So the secret with catchers is all these guys that you look at, they're going to be around and they're going to be on the free agency pool every couple of years. And they're going to stick around for a while because once a catcher gets, the the recognition that he can handle a pitching staff and guys like to throw to them. Like they just have jobs, whether it's a backup catcher and they might be a backup catcher for a few years and then something breaks right and they become the starter, whatever it is. Like these guys are going to be around catching because they know how to handle the staff. You look at, Hedges, like you're not looking at a guy like him, great guy. You're not looking at him for his offense. You just want to see him steal some strikes for you and then be able to, kind of either help a staff out or just kind of be there and not mess up what you have going on.
My quirky GM brain kicks in here, and it's like, could you get Zunino and Barnhart as your lefty-righty catching platoon and pay them under $10 million and have like a pretty nice catcher situation? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean Hedges and someone as well. If you want like the glove and the bat, Hedges and Gary go somewhere, and then they just morph their bodies into one body. Contreras is the only one I think that's going to get like a real deal contract. I mean, Vasquez might.
I think Vasquez might. Yeah.
For what? I mean, I don't know.
I like him going back to Boston on a 1 or 2 year.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think a 2-year deal where Contreras might be getting a 4-5 because he can hit. I mean, he's an above average hitter. And so if you're a team looking for a catcher, Wilson Contreras is the one that you'll be fighting over, and then you'll let it sort out.
The guy.
Yeah.
What about the defensive minded guys? You think is Maldonado, just because of like the reputation with the Astros? Is he like the number one kind of not in a bad way? I mean, like that's a good reputation he has for the Astros. Handles that staff. They're great. Is he the guy that you go after if you want someone to help your pitching staff out?
A team I think we're going to talk about a lot this offseason, and I don't know if it's for the right reasons. Like if the Orioles brought in Maldonado, I think we'd all be like, "Ooh, yeah, they're gonna teach those young pitchers," and they're starting a Houston 2.0 over there. But I don't know. I don't know how much of the secret sauce he has, but we'll talk ourselves into it. Sure.
For some reason, I see him like going over to the Cardinals and just kind of like slotting in, like he's Yachty. No,
the only way to get thicker than Yachty, they go that way. Jim, first base. It's not, I don't know. It's not deep. We got a couple veterans that you really like that, I don't know. I don't know where their free agency really lies.
I think this is deep.
Rizzo, Abreu, Josh Bell, Trey Mancini, Yuli Gurriel, Belt, Sano makes the list after a tough year. When you see that, Trev says deep, what do you see?
Yeah, I like it more than the catchers. I mean, Abreu's coming off a pretty good year, and he's just a stud of a player. Rizzo's game-changing for your infield, as well as with the shift going away, going to be able to find himself into a lot more hits, and then you have the leadership quality, his ability to have a two-strike approach, which you hope can permeate throughout the team more so. Rizzo's got a lot of intangibles that I really like. He's 33. Bell's interesting. Mancini's interesting. Yuli is also pretty interesting. So I think Abreu's the top here. Rizzo just turned down what?
One for 16.
16 mil. So if Rizzo's signing a 2-year deal again for 30 or 40 or whatever it is, then Abreu's he's 36, but he's going to be looking for the same thing. So it's those two. I think there's good options here, especially if you have a young guy coming up or someone like a DJ LeMahieu, like that can rove over there and platoon with the other guys. I think they're going to be like sought after. I think all these guys are going to get jobs. Oh, Yuli, Mancini, Bell, Abreu, Rizzo. Trev, you think it's deep?
I do think it's deep. I think they're all going to get jobs. Just what degree. I think, Joe's was in here before talking about how important Rizzo is to the Yankees offseason plans. And I agree with it. I agree with him. I agree with you, how good he is with, we talked about catchers handling the pitching staff, Rizzo handling the infield and being able to have confidence, just wing it over there. That's very, very important. So I think he's someone that I think is going to have a lot of suitors. I think the Yankees are going to have to, give him some cash to bring him back. I think he likes being there, but I think there is going to be a bidding war for him, and just because of the intangibles that you talked about. From
some things we've heard about Rizzo, I also don't think he's going to go to a non-contender. I think he just wants more years on the deal instead of one. But I think he's going to go to a team that's like almost, playoff berth is guaranteed and then have his shot in the postseason. We heard stuff that he basically chose the Yankees, and then the Cubs did right by him by figuring out a trade that worked because that was where he wanted to go. And I think he's going to be chasing postseason. So if you're a team that's on the outside or trying to like bump up this year, I don't know if you can be able to throw money at him and get there. I hope he comes back to the Yankees. Abreu's interesting. He's 36 years old.
He had a monster year. He snuck up on us, an all JM team. Like you hope it's either stay in Chicago White Sox, become a White Sox. I mean, you already are a White Sox legend, like finish it out, or end up somewhere fun and mess around and let another market see. Trev, you opened up my eyes, and it's a phrase I always come back to. When Jose Abreu's on the field, he's one of the best players on the field every time he's out there. Josh Bell, a team's going to talk themselves into Josh Bell, a switch-hitting monster, had a 128 OPS plus this year.
His numbers are interesting this year.
Tough time in San Diego when he went over there.
Yeah.
I think if you're looking at the potential value, if someone could get 3 years of Josh Bell doing some first base and DHing, and you get good Josh Bell, you're going to get a value free agent. If not, you're putting your neck out there a little bit. If we've seen a couple times in his career that down times hit, and I don't know.
Jose Abreu to me at 36 years old seems like a 2 for 35 or like a 2 years, 34 mil deal. If he's just
I think at this point he's also chasing a higher AAV rather than length.
Yeah. And I don't think teams are going to give him length.
An opportunity to compete, I would guess.
Yeah. And Mancini is interesting. He's 31. Obviously started platooning in Houston, but some of the numbers are there. I don't know. Interesting.
Brandon Belt seems like, you can get him at a discount right now.
A team's going to talk themselves.
Well, if the Yankees miss out on Rizzo, they're gonna look at Belt as a 1 year option because of the short porch. And I mean, if he didn't play in San Francisco, how many more home runs he'd have? I've run those numbers a bunch, and it's like 7 a year. Which is crazy. 2020,
we know he had an incredible year, and then he followed it back up in 2021, 975 OPS, 160 OPS plus. Last year, obviously, he didn't play much; he was hurt, so not a great, walk year for him. And I think a team could definitely say we can get this guy for 3 years, and he can do some damage for us, and it's going to be at a discount. Yeah. Like that one.
I like the first base position. There's options.
Yeah.
A lot of starting level options.
Second base, I think you got a couple front runners maybe here. I think Colton Wong's my main guy in a way. Gene Segura, obviously everyone just saw him on the big stage. Adam Frazier, fan favorite. Cesar Hernandez, Donovan Solano, and Josh Harrison. This is more shallow than the first baseman option, I believe. One, second base isn't. It's a position where people slide to a lot. Or prospects that aren't playing second in the minors can get called up and play second.
I'm curious to see if that's going to change though with the ban of the shift. Like, are we gonna get more defensive minded up the middle again because we have more ground to cover and we can't rely on positioning? So I think teams are going to struggle with that, and they're going to have different paths. Some people are going to continue to want offensive-minded infielders and just see if they can still kind of figure out the positioning. But then we're going to see some teams that value defense up the middle, and we're going to kind of go back almost to like an earlier time in our game where we saw like those guys were there for their gloves and gloves only. I don't think we'll get back that far because we understand what offense means, but run prevention too is analytical. Jake, do you know about analytics?
I'm a numbers guy, Trev. Colton Wong, he's got a $10 million club option that we'll see what happens there. There's a $2 million buyout too, so you're, that $8 million gap. I don't know. He had a pretty nice year, and I guess I was surprised when St. Louis let him go too. So we'll see, because otherwise, I mean, as a lockdown starter, a team is going to talk themselves into Adam Frazier. He's got versatility. That trade, he kind of had a down year. That going into free agency, I mean, what do you do with an 80 OPS plus? That's tough. That you're in the same bucket as a Cesar Hernandez or Donovan Solano or Josh Harrison, really. Someone will like Segura, especially with the shift going away. You know what he's going to be, man. He's going to be Gene. He's going to put some bats on balls. And if he's a guy that you can either, you can tuck him in the 2-hole in your lineup. If you have him in the bottom of the lineup, you saw what that did for the Phillies. He's going to get a bag. His $17 million team option got declined. So you're probably looking at a lower AAV, but, 2 years of Gene. I mean, that feels like a 2 for 30 or something like that, or maybe a 2 for 24. And if Colin hits free agency, you got to like him too in kind of a similar role. But if he's not there, maybe Gene does better because he'd be the only ticket in town.
I think Gene's trustworthy. If you're a GM and you're like, man, like we want to shore up our infield, our second base spot needs somebody that we can just throw out there and not worry about it. Set it and forget it. Gene's your guy, and he's gonna have some big moments. I don't think we just saw him, like James said, on the national stage. He might mess up, but that doesn't mean he's gonna let it bother him. The moment is not too big for Gene, and he had big moments too throughout the postseason where he came through. So he's a guy that I look to that probably this postseason I think helped him in his free agency.
I think being in the postseason helps him a lot. It's just on people's minds. They just watched him for so long.
Well, you can trust him in those situations.
Yeah, just put the bat on the ball.
Since 2016, he's had a positive OPS plus, except 2019 when the balls were juicy. But his stats stayed basically the same. Just everyone else in the league was hitting homers.
He didn't change his swing.
No, his stat
Good for
line.
him.
His stat line stayed the exact same, but just compared to the years, that was the only year it was down.
Interesting. I'm looking at his offensive numbers right now. Not great in the postseason this year, but I think there were just times where he took the moment over, and those just resonate with people. They did with me.
Yeah, me too.
I already forgot about everything. Gene. Forgot that Phillies offense just went freaking
Cold.
Jake Story alley cold, man.
Yeah. Well, speaking of cold, if your wiener doesn't work, stay tuned to hear about these shortstops because this class of players is pretty good. It might help you out getting hard. 52% of men need help over 40 years old. So like Chris Rose's people, more than half of them need help. And Roman is here to help you. They offer genuine FDA-approved medication for as little as $4 per dose.
If you saw Chris Rose and his brother together on the street, there's a better chance than not that one of them struggles with erectile dysfunction.
That's just math. That's
the
just
numbers.
simple math. And sorry to Rose's brother. It's probably him because Rose is a great guy.
God.
If medication is appropriate, Roman sends it right to your door with free 2-day shipping. Everything arrives in a discreet package. Right now, Roman has a special offer for our listeners. Use this link to get 20% off your first order. Just go to ro.co/talkin. That's ro.co/talkin for 20% off.
Say the new website in your Cali voice.
Ro.co. That's not Cali voice.
It's turned a little Baltimore.
Yeah, it's more Baltimore-y. Shortstop's pretty loaded, guys. Again, we thought last year was the big shortstop year. This year, kind of just as big because there's a guy that was there last year that's there again, Carlos Correa, 28 years old. Trey Turner, John Hamm sending out videos of him talking, 29 years old. Xander Bogaerts is 30. Dansby Swanson, 29. Elvis Andrus is back, and Jose Iglesias' name is on this list.
Man.
Those top four are starting shortstops on 5+ year deals, like maybe even more. I know I get that they're old, their age is there, and they might have to slide over, but we're not looking at a 2-year deal for Correa, Turner, Bogart, Swanson, unless it's like $40 million and they want to do the Correa thing again.
This is a great crop of guys. Handsome, ball players that get the job done. I look at this list, and yeah, I mean, there are some teams out there, some high profile teams that need shortstops. And I think this crew, it's not going to be one guy breaks the bank. It's not going to be two guys break the bank. I think all four of these guys are going to get absolutely paid. Like, they're kind of like, you can talk about the numbers, which all of them were, besides Trey, he was at 4.9 B-WAR, every other person above 5. I mean, these guys are real deal players, but they just kind of, let's talk more about intangibles. James, like these are guys that you want on your team. They're marketable, like they're clubhouse leaders. They just bring a lot of things to the table. And I don't think they're old. Like, for free agency, these guys are pretty freaking young. Like, the money is here. When I'm looking at this, I'm seeing dollar signs everywhere.
Now, Trey Turner, Xander, and Dansby will probably receive the qualifying offer and then turn it down. So they'll have draft picks attached to them. I don't think that should hurt them that much or at all. But like you said, Trev, the potential suitors for this position, Minnesota, San Francisco, Atlanta, the Dodgers, Boston, Philly, LA.
Philly, I think, is going
teams
to come in
teams that spend money. And yes, I do think Philly is going to want someone there that can really pick it and also provide other ways. So I'm looking at Turner and Correa, that maybe Philly might be interested in one of those. We won't go too far down that conversation, but Jake,
can I just say that Dave Dombrowski, the all-in king, he's looking in his pockets right now for some extra chips, because I think he wants to go just a little bit more all in, bro. They're just a little short. Philly
would love Correa eventually. Jake, what do you got?
Man, what a heel. Him and Bryce. Man, so I'm looking at this a little differently than you guys. The talent is here. I mean, this is stacked. These are guys that you feel like changes your season. Like, if someone signs Gene Segura, we were just talking about second base, you're like, all right, yeah, plug Gene in. Let's get some hits, kid. You put one of these guys in. You're talking about Dansby, Gold Glove at shortstop. You're talking about Trey Turner, a guy that puts up, fantasy numbers. Correa, all world when he's right. Xander Bogaerts has hit for a decade, and he's gonna hit some more. For me, I'm curious about the ripple effect of free agency here, because as we're talking about some of the thinner spots of free agency, and we saw this happen with last year's shortstops, could Trey Turner, a team look at him at second base? Absolutely. I think Trey Turner, even a team could talk themselves into him being their left fielder if their infield is really locked up. Like, he can do whatever he wants. That we're going to see one of the talented teams is going to be in on Trey Turner. And if their shortstop position is locked up, is he willing to move somewhere else? I think we've seen previously in his career that he would. So if a team like the Giants misses out on Judge, do they turn to Trey Turner with that money? And, Brandon Crawford's still around. I don't know. Xander Bogaerts, his shortstop play has been in question over the past couple years. Is there a team that views him as a third baseman or a second baseman? I don't know, because third base, we haven't gotten there yet, but that's pretty thin. So I'm interested to see how the ripple effects of free agency, if a couple of the big teams going for Judge, whether it's the Mets or San Fran, say he goes back to the Yankees, do they use that money elsewhere on Trey Turner, where if it's the Mets, they have Lindor. And he's still an all-world shortstop, but you could put Trey at second. I don't know. I'm interested to see. And Dansby is the one that I'm fighting blind on. Because where is he going? The Braves locked everyone else up, which makes me think him not being locked up means he's not going back there. Does Boston get involved there? And he's their shortstop. His hair can turn Boston-y pretty quick. But I don't know, man. The class is juiced, and Correa, after doing that 1 year thing and changing agencies and every year, he's trying to break the bank.
Well, he opted out of $35 million for this year, but his back is a concern, and I think that cost him a little bit of money or long term last off season. So I'm interested there. I think Trey Turner's the main guy here.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be good with any of these guys. I like Trey Turner myself as well as the guy I would look to if I'm looking to fill a shortstop need, because I think he could, like you're saying, Jake, you could move him off of that position, and you don't need to right now, but you could, and I think his body just holds up. I think he has that type of body that can go anywhere and play any position.
I mean,
you could say that about any of these guys. You can play shortstop at the big league level. You can do anything.
I'm interested to see. Fangraphs has Correa getting more years and a higher AAV. I mean, they're just guessing, but it's interesting.
He is younger, but only a year younger. So
Did they have that last year too?
I mean, probably they had Correa getting 300.
I wonder who goes first, because Dansby goes to the Braves first. That kind of sets a price range for the rest of the guys that I think Turner and Correa are going to want to beat that. So this will be a little bit of a puzzle piece, that the first one that drops, and maybe this is the position that holds out for a while. But it's definitely a fun one and an interesting one, because there's a lot of teams, if they don't go get, San Francisco Giants are supposedly all in on Judge. If they don't get Judge, I think they're going to go after Turner. So
these guys are game changers. Like you get him on, you get one of these guys on your team, you're like, our season is headed in a different direction.
Yes.
And by the way, those Dodgers, like they let Scherzer walk last year. Like I don't think they're just going to let like Trey Turner go. And if they do, like one of those guys is coming in, right? So
Dansby back with Freddie.
The big boys are bidding this year.
Yes.
Third baseman's a little less than we got Justin Turner, 38 years old, coming off a good year. Brandon Drury, Jace Peterson, Joey Wendell, and our guy Evan Longoria, 37. It's a lighter class.
That's where I'm not Xander Bogaerts. I'll never be Xander Bogaerts. But if I'm looking at him and I'm competing with that shortstop pool, or if I'm open to playing third base, I think I'm like the king of the hill big time. Like I'm the free agent third baseman, kind of a la Simeon to second base last year. I think he might make better bread that way. But we'll see. Because otherwise, how many of these guys can you pencil in as your third base starter next year? Drury?
Turner?
I mean, Turner's getting up there in age, and he played a lot of DH last year. That, like, 62 games at DH last season, he's going to be 38 next year. Like, to pencil him as your everyday third baseman, I don't think you can do that.
How much of that was the Dodgers' makeup and having so many guys versus his need to play DH? He's also just really in LA, like
LA culture.
Doesn't it doesn't
Have
shock me.
They haven't made a decision on him yet, have they?
It's a team option, right?
$16 million club option, yeah.
They need to make it within like today, or we're recording this on Tuesday. I think they might have to make it by tomorrow.
I mean, you don't see any of these third basemen any of these guys getting a 3-year deal, right?
I think Drury could. I think Drury might have played himself into that this year, where teams like, okay, like we can see he's got versatility. Maybe we can tap into something. It's not going to be a huge AAV, but hey, man.
What did Profar get that one time?
Yeah.
Like
I think it's like 3 for 24 or something like that. Wasn't it?
Yeah, tick up from there.
Well, you know what, man? That's awesome for Drury. Awesome for Drury, who was up and down and battled a bunch of stuff and got in the right situation and took advantage of it. I mean, you're on the Reds team that wasn't going to do anything.
Maybe that's what they're looking at. 3 years, 21 that Profar got, and maybe that's what Drury can try and go get. I don't know.
Either way, man, that's dude.
That ain't bad.
That's life. Like that's
awesome.
That's life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. The one I always think about is Sonny Gray when the Reds locked him up. It was like 3 years for whatever it was. Like, Sonny Gray was coming off the Yankee times, which were kind of tough for him, but they took a chance on him. It kind of paid off immediately because he was back to being Sonny Gray. Some team is going to be like, Brandon Drury has the look, man. Trev, you say it. We saw it when he came over the Yankees. You're like, that guy looks like a damn ball player. He just put it together. There's a story behind it, kind of why it wasn't together. Now it looks like it is. If you're a team looking for a value guy that, maybe you could get a really good signing at third base for 2-3 years. He might have just walked into the perfect free agency.
I don't know about that, but I hope he gets his money.
Get paid.
I think what we said. I think the Profar deal is about right.
Yeah, 3 for 21.
The Turner thing's very interesting, man, because he's been a Dodger for so long and he means a lot, and they can just pick him up on a 1-year deal, and could that be the last hurrah? I'm curious to see how that goes, because you said he's a legend. He's a Dodger legend.
That's the infielders. Shortstop heavy, some good first base, one solid catcher, hitting catcher, but
One catcher, you'd like multi-years, you're the starter.
yeah.
Evan Longoria too.
My backyard to hang out with me,
Okay.
The warehouse.
maybe.
Let's go right now. We're signing
He
him.
wants to be in the
Pinstripe strong.
Signing him. Yeah.
Him and
Yes,
Joe's.
he needs to be on Joe's team. All right, let's pivot to the outfielders that are available. It's sunny out in the outfield. You got to wear your Shady Rays sunglasses when you're out there playing. Shady Rays has one of the best deals. Any company that gives our audience deals.
We like.
Yeah. 50% off 2+ pairs of premium polarized shades. So it's BOGO. Buy one, get one, basically. ShadyRays.com. Use code TALKIN for 50% off. And they're nice. We wear them all the time. I have like 3 pairs. They're lightweight. I'm not a sunglasses guy. I like them. I think they're trying to do some big stuff with Jake and I as well. So be on the lookout for that. They have over 200,000 5-star reviews. And if you lose them or break them, you get free returns and exchanges. So you're going to love your Shady Rays. Put them on. Go shag some balls in the outfield. Starting center field, we can kind of do this as a whole if you want, or I don't know how you guys want to break it up. Obviously, Judge is the big name. Nimmo at center field is going to be sought after, I think. You got Duvall and Kiermaier. Left field, you have Profar, Brantley, Benintendi. I guess there's more names on here than I imagined at first. Conforto, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Haniger, Judge. Do you want to break them down by position, or how do you want to do it, Jake?
The outfield is interesting this year. Judge is going to headline everything, and maybe we do that. Nimmo, again, sometimes he doesn't feel real life to me because his stats are off the chart. What he's done in center field is really impressive. That's why we highlight it on the All-JM team. And he's done it in the New York market. So, like, Brandon Nimmo's gonna break the bank a little bit. And then the other guy, I think there's 3. So I think we start off with Judge, Nimmo, and I think Andrew Benintendi coming off a big year, all-star. He's kind of the style of baseball that we think will be more chic if you can play that way. He can play that way. There's going to be defense. And then after them, there's kind of a big drop-off, right? It's, you can talk yourself into Jock as the platoon or DH guy, which he's on the right side. Profar is kind of your super utility that had a really nice year. Brantley might be a DH at this point. The other guys kind of all have their those 3, and I think Andrew Benintendi's stock is just going to go up this free agency, and I think he's going to get more than whatever the experts are predicting.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right about Nimmo and what he's done there and proven himself in that market. And, the knock on him for a long time has been, like, can he stay healthy and do that? He played 151 games this year. It says he has a new training regimen. So you put up those numbers and you have that story behind it. Now teams are like, okay, I can dream upon this guy being healthy and doing it. So I do think he's going to get a sizable deal for sizable years. And then, Judge, who knows what's going to happen with Judge? I think we're going to see a lot of creative stuff. We're going to see massive offers. We're going to see huge AAV short-term stuff. We're going to see 12-year deals. I think that the Yankees are going to have to do that, like the jumbo deal. Like, let's pay this guy to be there for the next 12 years. And then there are going to be other teams that offer him higher AAV. I think he likes the years. I think he wants to be a Hall of Famer and kind of put up those counting stats because he can. But yeah, I mean, every time you go through an outfield class during free agency, it all just kind of you have to let the big dogs shake out first, and then everyone else kind of reacts to that. You might snag someone here and there, Like a Jock Peterson might go somewhere really quickly for 1 year because someone really likes what he does platoon wise. But for the rest of it, I think it's kind of a waiting game on where some of these big boys are going to land.
Yeah, I think those three names are there. Profar had a good year. He's kind of
He
interesting.
declined an $8.3 million player option.
Yeah, and he's 30, so maybe he's looking for like a 5-year deal and just the lower AAV and just, let me play out my career somewhere and have the comfort of knowing that I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't know, just totally projecting. But you also have the guy from Japan,
Yeah.
Masataka.
Yeah.
That's fun to say. Is that how you pronounce it? Masataka Yoshida?
Reads right to me. I'm not super. I haven't been scouting his games like I'd like to. But yeah,
Japanese names are usually pretty phonetical the way they're translated for.
doesn't look like there'd be too many curveballs in there.
Because they're translating it from Japanese characters to English characters. Imagine if they translated it and didn't make it phonetically correct. That would be like ridiculous of them.
Be kind of messed up.
You've lost me. You guys have lost me.
I think there is I talked about that first tier. The second tier, we love kind of the unknown. And hey, I hope Masataka Yoshida comes over here and is a world beater. Let's see where he lands. To give you more of a scouting report than that, I really can't do it for you. The two other guys that really jumped out for me, Conforto. I mean, think about where we've come with him. We thought he was going to be a 9-figure guy. Shoulder thing, doesn't play at all this year. Okay. Does it sound like someone will talk themselves into him after a good BP? I can already read the Heyman tweet. Mitch,
there's gonna be a freaking grainy video on social media of him hitting the bomb.
This?
Did we ever get to the bottom of his injury and why no one gave him any?
It was a shoulder thing, right?
I think it was like a jacked up
something
shoulder.
More shady to it though, because people have signed injured players before.
He's healthy, ready to go. Pay that man.
And then the other guy that stands out to me is Mitch Haniger. Mitch Haniger only played 57 games this year after missing 3 months with an ankle sprain. The year before it, he hit 39 dongs. A guy who's similar but different in his free agency was Kyle Schwarber, right? Like Kyle Schwarber initially timed his free agency kind of at the wrong time. He got that 1-year deal. He went nuts. I don't see Haniger having to do that because a 114 OPS plus in that small time frame, I don't think that hurt him at all. But a team is with the kind of thin depth at corner outfield. If you want a guy with the potential to hit you 30 bombs and play corner outfield, I think Mitch Haniger is easy a guy for that. That's kind of the second tier. And then after that, I don't know.
I think you guys are missing a big one.
Okay.
I think Michael Brantley gets a nice look from somebody. I think his track record is enough for him to command, a 1-and-1 type thing. Like a 1-year deal with maybe like a mutual option on the back end of it or something like that. He's too good of a hitter not to get another deal. You want him around your franchise. You want him around your lineup. He's still productive when he's on the field. And I think that a smart team is going to come and swoop him up.
How much does him proving he's healthy and
get the offseason now? I mean, anyone can pretty much say we're ready to go for spring training. So
he's also like not in a shots fired way. It's not like he's a power guy anyway. So even if the home run stroke isn't there, less than 10 homers the last several years. So
we think about all the teams that we talked about, like in the postseason. We're like, dude, we need like a hitter.
Yeah,
we need like a hitter. Michael Brantley's a hitter.
Small left field. You're either looking at a DH or Houston brings him back. Everyone's talking about that speech. Or I've been wondering what the Red Sox are going to do. My goodness. He would just flick balls off the monster all day, play a little left field, DH. I mean, Michael Brantley's going to get a job. Easy.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, wonder how much guys want to chase Ranger money. Because there was someone else.
He's made enough money. I think that he wants to go somewhere.
He wants to win.
Good.
Yeah, when
But
you
also,
look
like, he doesn't want to be disrespected. Like, you know, he'll take if he's not getting the offer that he wants from a contender and a different team that's maybe not so much a contender offers him what he wants, I think he's probably going to go there.
Yeah, and you look at the DHs, which I'll slide into outfielder section. You got Martinez, Carpenter, Cruz, Santana. Those are guys if they're getting 1 year, 2 year deal. Well, Martinez might get more, but Carpenter, Cruz, Santana, like they're just looking to be on a team where they can DH, play veteran leadership role, platoon, and get a shot at a ring, right? Seems like that's what Carpenter's going to chase. Go back to St. Louis, replace Pujols, just legend as DH.
I like it.
New St. Louis position, just the legend spot.
Legend spot. Yachty will come back next year and make his return.
They brought back Matt Holliday to be bench coach.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And they've got to be friends.
You think Martinez JD's getting a big anything?
He can hit, right?
The Red Sox they're saying might not give him the qualifying offer.
They don't want to lose a draft. They don't want to lose a draft pick over it.
What's that?
They don't want to lose a draft. They don't want to.
Other way.
Yeah.
They don't want him to. They don't want him to sign 1 year back for
they don't want
$20 million.
19, yeah.
That's why they wouldn't offer it.
Huh.
Or out of a sign of respect, sometimes teams will do that and say, we're not going to offer it to you.
That's what they tell
like
you.
Kershaw last.
Dude, he's getting
Go
a
out
gig.
there,
I mean, he hit. He had a 117 OPS plus this year. And I think he faded a lot down the stretch. And I think the Red Sox season kind of was fading a lot down the stretch. So, yeah, if you got a DH slot, which a lot of teams do, like being a DH is really hard. A lot of guys are super uncomfortable not playing the field and having 4 at-bats a game. Come back home to Arizona, JD.
JD was an all-star this year. Last 2 years.
Yeah. 4 of the last 5.
Motherfucker can hit, dude.
Come back to Arizona, big guy.
All right. That's all the bats.